Okay, Michael Fabiano, is Dak Prescott a top 10 fantasy quarterback?
Are we going with full names, Jen Piacenti? I think he can be. And I get it. Last year was bad with the 15 interceptions in 12 games. But I really feel like, Jen, that was kind of the outlier in his career. Look at his numbers. Only 50 interceptions over his first 85 regular season games, which is about 0.6 interceptions per game. Last year, he was at 1.3. I think he missed Amari Cooper. I think he missed a healthy Michael Gallup. And this is a quarterback who really thrived when he had Cooper and CeeDee Lamb in the offense. Guess what? Now he's got Brandon Cooks. And Brandon Cooks is a guy who's had multiple 1,000-yard seasons. They're already gaining a really good rapport in camp. And people just like to poo-poo Dak because he's the quarterback of America's team, our beloved Dallas Cowboys. But if you're getting Dak in the double-digit rounds, I really do think for several reasons, you're going to end up getting a pretty good bargain.
Well, I definitely don't disagree that if you get him in double-digit rounds, it's a pretty good bargain. But if I'm really drafting him as top 10, that means that I'm drafting him ahead of Tua. I'm drafting him ahead of Daniel Jones. I'm drafting him ahead of Geno Smith. I'm drafting him ahead of Kirk Cousins. I'm drafting him, ahead of players that finished as, top 10 quarterbacks, at least on a per game basis last season, which Dak didn't. He finishes like the QB 16 even on a per game basis. So that's my main concern here. My other concern is, he had a massive ceiling in 2019. We saw him really firing on all centers, but it was a very vertical offense with Kellen Moore, which of course is part of why I've got Justin Herbert ranked so high this year. I think that's going to be great for Justin Herbert. I'm concerned about this change, and do I really trust Mike McCarthy? I do hope you're right, and I hear all your reasons, but top 10 quarterback feels a little aggressive, especially since we haven't seen Dak play a full healthy season in at least 2 seasons.
So you do realize, Jen, that he has been a top 10 quarterback for most of his career. He was the QB 11 as a rookie, so that's top 12. He was the QB 10, QB 2, QB 7 in his full seasons. And that year that he suffered that gruesome injury, he was averaging over 27 points a game. And also another thing to look at, last year, Dak Prescott averaged just 32.8 pass attempts per game. In the previous 3 years, he averaged almost 40 a game. And if you look back at Mike McCarthy when he was calling the plays with the Green Bay Packers with those 2 stud quarterbacks that he had in Favre and Aaron Rodgers, they averaged about 38 pass attempts per game. And when you lose Zeke Elliott, who accounted for about 250 touches last year, you think those are going to Tony Pollard? No, he can't handle all that work. You think it's going to 5'5" Deuce Vaughn or Malik Davis or Reek? No. Those are going to leak into the passing game because now you have Brandon Cooks. You've got CeeDee Lamb. You've got Michael Gallup, who should be healthier. Jalen Tolbert's looked good in the preseason. I think Jake Ferguson becomes the new Dalton Schultz. I think good things are going to happen in that Cowboys offense. The interceptions, that was an outlier. And the good thing about Dak is that you don't have to draft him as a top 10 quarterback for him to finish as a top 10 quarterback.
I knew we were going to get Jalen Tolbert and a Jake Ferguson mention. I knew we couldn't get past that. But back to your point, like he only had 34 pass attempts per game. Yeah, that's because he's been nervous ever since he's been injured. He has been. He's been playing poorly. I mean, 15 interceptions, tied for the league lead, except he did it in 12 games. Davis Mills took a full 17 games to do it. And the other concern is, where's my mobility here for Dak? Is he going to get some of that back too? And if you ask Mike McCarthy, he says the run game is going to be really featured. I know we doubt it right now, but can we totally count out like a Leonard Fournette signing down the stretch or whatever? I mean, listen, I hope that you're right, Michael Fabiano, and I agree that if you can get him in double-digit rounds, yes, he has the potential to be a top 10 quarterback. But, as you said, he's been a top quarterback throughout his career. There is such a glut of talent at quarterback right now, young talent. When you start talking about Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, we got Justin Fields, we got a potential Anthony Richardson, we got Aaron Rodgers, who's, sorry, maybe I'm buying too much into the Hard Rocks hype, but Aaron Rodgers is a serious chance to finish as a top 10 quarterback as well. So I don't know, Fabs. From your
all those
list to
quarterbacks
God's
that
ears,
you mentioned, Jen, they're all ranked ahead of Dak. You didn't mention 10. And I think Dak can be a top 10 quarterback. So you'd rather have Geno Smith, who did it for 1 year in his career, over Dak, who's got a resume of being a top 10 and 12 quarterback?
I'm not saying that he will. I'm just saying that there's an argument. There's a lot of people that could finish ahead of Dak. When I go through my list, of all the people that could be top 10, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, there's a lot of people that could be top 10. I think, look, again, I hope you're right.
Based on where he's being drafted right now, I think he's well worth taking a shot on. There's little risk and the reward is big. And the Cowboys are going to score points this upcoming season. So I am all in on drafting Dak Prescott. Heck, if I could get him as a QB2, a high QB2, and pair him with an Anthony Richardson or a Kirk Cousins or a Daniel Jones, giddy up. I'm in.
Well, I will agree with you there. If you can get him in double-digit rounds, go for it. But unfortunately, because of your promo video, you probably just, raised his ADP too much, so now I can't get him in double rounds anymore. So thanks a lot, Michael Fabiano. This backfired. If you want more great fantasy football advice, be sure to check out our fantasy football draft kit at si.com/fantasy.